meeting to order. Please stand with us. We'll be led in prayer by Alderman Gallagher. Please remain standing after that for the Pledge of Allegiance. It'll be led by Alderman Payne.
Heavenly Father, Lord, we come before you once again to ask your blessings on our meeting, Lord. Lord, we thank you for the good things that you have given the City of Southaven, Lord. Lord, we pray for protection for our first responders, Lord, that are out there each and every day. Lord, that you would just bless our country as well and bless our meeting. In your name we pray. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, first on the agenda, again, Michael, is the volume right? Sounds odd. What's it sound? Sound normal to you?
Yeah, it sounds like it could be a little bit mad.
A little what?
A little mad.
Okay. I'll just, unless you, it's something, what is, something's different, it sounds different.
I love that.
Go ahead and do a rap and see if it sounds right.
I can, don't think I can.
Or give it to Nick.
I was saying, Nick's got it.
Nick's got it rap.
I'll do it right now. I think I better.
I'll put down a beat between us.
We're gonna kick it all night.
Yep.
Except Darren's rap would be the sugar go getter.
It's more of a salt.
Is that better? That's better right there. Thank you. I appreciate it. That's good. Okay, next on the agenda is approval of minutes for the special meeting, first, the regular meeting on June 4th, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes for the regular meeting of June 4th, 2019 with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is approving the minutes for the special meeting on June 10, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes of the special meeting on June 10th, 2019 with any additions, deletions, or corrections.
Second. We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is approval of the minutes for the special meeting on June the 11th, 2019.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the minutes for the special meeting on June 11th, 2019.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Gallagher. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution for the amended procurement card policy. Mr. Nick Manley, City Attorney.
This resolution will just amend the procurement card policy. Basically, it cleans it up some, takes the references out from the Mississippi, from the state of Mississippi to the City of Southaven, tailors it towards our individual needs. Also makes reference and note that the IT department will also be able to have a procurement card that's been used by them in the past. So that way we'll have two procurement cards, which is consistent with what we're doing now, but it'll be authorized by policy. This policy is consistent with the audit guidelines as well. So tonight is just a resolution to approve the amended procurement card policy for the procurement card by the city.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks?
Yes.
Alderman Kelly?
Yes.
Alderman Who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne?
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher?
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler?
Yes.
Alderman Flores?
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is an adjustment for our Waste Connections agreement.
Yeah, this is just the annual adjustment by Waste Connections pursuant to the CPI. It won't affect the sanitation rate, but it does affect for those who choose to recycle, it does affect that rate. So that will increase by 13 cents a month for those who recycle. So tonight, we just need authorization to accept the adjustment pursuant to the contract with Waste Connections, along with the increase of 13 cents per month for those who do the recycling.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we accept the Waste Connections adjustment as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Payne. Is there any discussion?
And authorize the 13-cent recycling charge as part of the motion
Yep, that too.
per month.
Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a resolution to claim private property.
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the resolution granting authority to clean private property as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion among the board? Hearing none, is there any discussion from anyone in the audience that has a financial interest in any of the properties? Hearing or seeing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our planning agenda. Ms. Whitney Cook.
Yes, sir. First application we have is a request for a conditional use permit for Firestone Complete Auto Care. They're requesting to be on Lot 2 of Snowden Farms. And to give you an idea where that's at, it is on the Goodman Road frontage between where the new Trustmark Bank is and where the CVS Pharmacy is. They'll be sharing the existing access point that's already been permitted by MDOT right there with the bank. Per their applications, they will have no overnight storage. They will have no outdoor storage. It'll be 24-hour turnaround on all their facility, all their facility amenities they've got. All of the storage they've got will be on site, enclosed in a structure. They do have an office and a sales area up front. So with that being said, we recommended a 1-year conditional use permit with a 4-year extension, as we would renew it annually as we do with all our motor vehicle repair.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 1 on the planning agenda as presented.
Second.
On item 1, we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Item number 2 is the same project, Firestone Complete Auto Care. This is their design review package. What we asked them to do was take into account the design standards of CVS Pharmacy and also the Trustmark. They chose to go with modern design, which you will see up there. We asked them to dress the back side up with some faux windows, since that will be against the drive for CVS Pharmacy. They did comply with that. They did our landscape revisions we asked them to. They added in the decorative lighting. We also asked them to design the entrance where the DOT entrance is between them and the bank, match what the Trustmark Bank had done as well, so it's kind of like a grandiose entrance into Snowden Farms there. They did comply with that as well. The changes you see up there are the revisions that were made by Planning Commission, the recommendations by them, so with those changes, we recommend approval.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve item number 2 on the planning agenda as presented tonight.
Second.
On item 2, we have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries.
Our last application is also for motor vehicle repair, and this will be at 8849 Hamilton. It's going to be on the south side of State Line Road, right behind Waffle House. Most people will remember it as Jones Davis Engineering. There's 2 structures on the site. The motor vehicle repair request is for the structure that is actually up against the road. A new person bought the property. If you've been by there lately, they've done some major repairs to it. They're putting some decorative fencing on. They have painted it. They have put some overhead doors, installed those. They're adding landscape to it. This is also for full service motor vehicle repair on site. Storage will be here over 24-hour periods, so there's been a contingency that has to be behind the screen fences. And any materials have to be stored inside. They've agreed to that. With that being said, we also requested for a 1-year conditional use permit with a 4-year extension.
Mr. Mayor, I make a motion to approve item number 3 on the planning agenda as presented this night.
Second.
On item 3, we have a motion by Alderman Kelly, second by Alderman Hoots. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is mayor's report. I have a few things to discuss this evening. I'll start off with, it is time for the city to renew our property casualty insurance, meaning our buildings, our police cars, our liability insurance, our workers' comp. We have that now with travelers insurance. The city has not had the best loss ratio when it comes to that. Nothing that's unusual on our part, just more indicative of some of the challenges that we face with law enforcement and things like that. But with that, our broker did shop our business, take it to the market, shop it to see the pricing, the best pricing that's available. And we do have an increase. Last year, the city paid $1,539,000 for this coverage. Our renewal this year is $1,620,000. That's an $81,000 increase, which is about 5%. Some of the carriers in the marketplace refuse to quote, which again is indicative of our loss experience. So it's my recommendation that we do renew the travelers. It is time to do that. The renewal date is July 1st, so I'm asking the board to make a motion and to approve and authorize me to renew the insurance policy with travelers.
So moved.
Second. Do we have a motion by Alderman Wheeler, second by Alderman Gallagher? Is there any discussion?
Nate, does the motion need to include contract signatures?
Yeah, it'll say all that in the minutes.
Okay.
Any other discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoots.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
Okay, and that motion carries. Next thing I want to update everyone on, we are attempting to schedule another ordinance committee meeting. As y'all know, the month of June and July will be, but June has been extremely challenging for our schedule with all that we've had to do with special meetings and such. But I want to warm you up, or at least kind of put something on the radar. At the next meeting, the tall grass situation for commercial properties over 10 acres. Is that are we going to try to put that on next meetings, the next meeting?
We would like to,
Okay.
unless there's more discussion needed, but and you can explain it, it's just further defining for large parcels of property.
Yeah, this one's pretty simple. I don't think it's necessary that we take it to the ordinance committee. I think we can talk about it tonight and be prepared to vote on it next time. But basically what we run into, with the delays in residential development because of the housing crisis in 2009, there were developers that went and bought large parcels of land that they have not been able to develop yet. And we realized that it's not practical to require someone to bush hog land exceeding 10 acres. Like a lot of these parcels are, they're in wooded areas. They almost have an agricultural look. And our ordinance now basically treats them like every other. Like if the grass can't be over 6 inches high. Well, that doesn't make any sense if you have an area that's like a pasture or agricultural look to it, and you're expecting them on a parcel that's 15, 20 acres to go out and keep that at 6 inches. And so we believe that it's that to be fair, that if it's 10 acres or larger, that we would just require that we would change it to where there's a perimeter around it. So that stops the undesirables of rodents and snakes and like that could be could be adjacent to a city street or a residential home. So we feel like that is a more common sense, realistic approach to that. We've listened to some of the property owners, and Whitney and I and code enforcement went on site with them, and they showed us some of these. And when you look at it, it doesn't make any sense. So we require them to cut all that. So we think that we can kind of change the ordinance or recommend changing it if it's 10 acres or larger, that there would be a, I think we talked about 300. I think 200 maybe.
200's fine.
I think we can shorten that to 200, but require a 200-yard perimeter cut around it to keep that 6 inches or lower, but not require them to cut the entire thing. I think that's more of a common sense approach, but that's the first thing I just want to inform you. We're going to tweak that and try to put that on the next meeting, but can we talk about that? So let's open up the floor for discussion about that.
You're talking about a 200-foot from all the way around the property, or just?
Yeah, just like, for example, like if you have a line of residential homes behind their fence and they're adjacent to one of these parcels of land, require them to cut it 6 inches, 200 yards from the property line.
Yeah.
That way you cut down on, the bleed over between snakes and rodents and things like that. I think most of those creatures are probably not going to want to travel 200 yards. But if you didn't cut it, that's going to bleed over into their yard. They're going to have rats and
200
snakes
yards or
and
200 feet?
200 yards.
Okay.
So that's a sizable.
Yeah, yeah.
And we initially talked about 300, but I think that's a little overkill. 200 yards.
I think 200 is
Yeah.
too much.
Yeah.
I'd be fine with doing 100 yards.
I would rather keep it at 200. That's 600 feet, they're not gonna travel 600 feet.
Yeah.
I mean, if they are, they are, it's not gonna matter.
Well, it backs up to a wooded area, just, they don't have to cut that.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, this is just the grassy areas, yeah. But that's just a thought process, but it could be, if y'all want to make it shorter, we can talk about that. But I think 200 is, like Alderman Flores said, I think that's a large
Football
stretch.
fields.
Yeah.
600 feet.
You gotta have some fast sprinting rats
Yeah,
to do that. Not to say we don't have a few. But anyway, just want to warm you up to that. Is there any other discussion about that? If not, then we'll adjust that, put that in written format, so you'll see that on your packet before the next agenda, and we'll change that to 200. Whitney, will you make some notes, and let's go ahead and let's drop that down to 200.
Yeah, I've got them written down, and I've got the section where it will go already to you, and I guess Nick, but in format for the ordinance.
Okay, and then the next thing I want to update everyone on, we've had we're not unique, cities across America have started to have some challenges with VRBOs, vacation rentals by owner, people leasing their home out, for specific events in their city. Like, I'm sure it would start in, like college towns where there's college football going on or sports. People can, when the demand for hotels is high, they can lease their property and get a large amount of money for a short amount of time. So it's become very popular, and even in Southaven, we're starting to see that, where people are renting their residential homes out for a weekend. Well, you can let your imagination go. There can be all kinds of events. When you get into, bachelor parties, things like that, there starts to be some negative things that the neighboring property owners do not appreciate. So we're not unique. That's something that all cities are kind of looking to see. Is there an ordinance that we need to put in place to protect, the surrounding property owners? This is not just with residential properties. We do have event centers in our city. We have an event center off of Tullahoma that has had a recent event, and there have been some other events in the past where when they rented the facility, the people that rented the facility did not comply with their rental agreement, and there became issues with occupancy, the number of people at the event. Also noise, other ordinance were violated, police were called. Our police did respond appropriately, but we just feel like that we need to step up as a city and get a grip on this. It's starting to be a more common thing. There's one event, just to put this in perspective, we had an event that had 1,000 people at a swimming pool. And you can just visualize that. It can become a public nuisance to the surrounding property owners. And I believe it's something that we address, and we need to do something about it. We're working on that. I just wanted to update everyone. I know we have some people in the audience that have some concerns about it. And on the citizens agenda, we're going to give them a chance to speak on this issue as well. But just to kind of give you an idea of what a proposed solution could be, obviously with our fire code, we do expect property owners to comply with the occupancy code. So there may be a way that we could have inspections. The battalion commander at any given time, whether it be a Saturday night, Friday night, whatever, we have a situation where the police can contact the battalion commander. They can make an on-site inspection. And if there's a violation of the occupancy code, that we could tweak that to where if you have multiple violations within a certain period of time, that your certificate of occupancy could be revoked. And I will go on the record. I've never shied away from telling people what I think in the city. I think that the property owners have a responsibility. It's not fair to the surrounding properties for them to be harassed. And a lot of times when these events are broken up by our police, the police have done their job, but it doesn't stop these people from retaliating with the neighbors that contacted the police. They obviously know that somebody called the police. So we've had situations where they retaliated against their neighbors, and this should not be going on in Southaven, Mississippi. So I believe that this board needs to step up and do something about this problem. So again, we don't have the specifics of it. That'll be something that we either bring to the ordinance committee, Alderman Gallagher, or we'll have that again on a future agenda. But just generally, we're looking at addressing this from a fire code standpoint, and then there will be some penalties for abusing that. And that's all I have. Is there any other discussion before we move on to the citizens' agenda about that issue? Okay. All right, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our citizens' agenda. And we did, first of all, since we're talking about that, we've been contacted by Lauren Boone. And did you want to be present tonight to hear the discussion? Or did you want to speak tonight?
This is my mom, Mary McKim. She actually lives the same drive as the event venue.
Okay. And your property owner is in the area, correct?
Yes.
Mary, would you like to speak?
Sure.
Okay, please come forward.
Thank you all for hearing this, because this is really important to us. First of all, some of you might know I kind of have a sentimental attachment to this place where I live, right at Church in Tullahoma. Excuse me. This was my father's house that I live in, and it's at the end of the driveway of Spitfire Acres. Some people think that those are both our properties, but they're not. Right in the backyard of Sacred Heart School. We have had occurrences with Spitfire that have just continued to escalate. Last year in July, our house was shot by a 9mm bullet from a person that was at a 16th birthday party at Spitfire Acres. The mother was so concerned about gang activity that they had metal detectors and a security guard. And they got totally out of control and were going down my driveway firing back at the party. We have a bullet in our porch column. We have tried to work with the owner there. My husband actually is the one that gutted and totally rebuilt that place, so we had a relationship with them. But we have gotten no response as far as trying to really control the type of people that are renting the place. 2 weeks ago, there was a party that was rented for 50 people. I was told it was a teacher that rented it. And within 20 to 30 minutes, there were 300 people there on the deck. Now, let me paint the picture of what these parties are like. Like the mayor said, you can only imagine some of these things, but me being right there at church, at Tullahoma, right past Sacred Heart School on the first drive there. Cardiff Gardens, which is, I don't know how far you would say that's away, but good enough piece that they shouldn't be hearing the filthy music playing from there. I was in Jamaica and had people texting me asking, what do we do? What do we do? The music was just atrocious. They're not supposed to have PA systems. They're screaming filthy things, like to the point where my neighbor across the street, if she has her grandchildren out in the pool, she has to take them in because it is just that. It's just a nuisance. People flying up and down the driveway. The Tuesday after Memorial Day, the principal at Sacred Heart called to ask what in the world was going on at at Spitfire that day, because when she drove up into the parking lot, there were clothes and bottles and cans, and she saw some things on their video surveillance, and it turned out, I think that was the party across Church Road onto Lahoma. The owner of Spitfire also has a house that's directly across from Sacred Heart that is a VRBO and has had some really horrible things go on there. When my husband was working there, he could attest to there was definitely drug activity. There was definitely a pornography film there with a huge production company. So it's unbelievable to be saying this stuff is in Southaven. I've lived here my whole life, never seen anything like this, but my thing is obviously safety, and I just wonder too how a Catholic elementary school sitting right there can have this many horrible things around it, you know, and I'm really scared for the kids, I'm scared for all of us, really.
We not have nuisance laws as is, even though they have a permit to have events there, do they not have to follow?
Yeah, that's a good question. That's the same question that I had, the one that Alderman Brooks just mentioned. And the answer is yes, and that's why our police have been able to respond. Like when the police have been called, they have taken action, they have broken the parties up. Any ordinance, whether it be the noise ordinance and other public nuisance type things that we have on the books now, they have been enforced. But I think the issue is once the event is going on, that even makes it worse, because when the police are breaking it up, then you have people that are there that are bitter that the police have broken the event up and they're retaliating against the neighbors. Is that fairly said?
That's very fair to say.
Well, and I'm just thinking offhand, I remember a few years ago, a restaurant that's no longer open was having the same issues. I remember Chief Long had threatened, I think it was before you were mayor, to come to us and ask for a board vote to shut them down for 30 days or 45 days. I don't know, Nick may be able to expound on that, if that's even an option considering their business.
Well,
If it's continued nuisance and they've been warned, you know, first step is, hey, you're no more events for 30, 45 days, sorry.
I think this ordinance that we're gonna pass, or looking into passing, will give us some type of leverage to do that under an ordinance. It's,
I didn't know if it's the same thing as like with a restaurant or a bar, so.
We have based on what Nick has told me, and correct me, Nick, if I speak out of turn, but it's the way, the mechanism to do something about it is a certificate of occupancy. So if there are repetitive violations like this with this new ordinance, then the certificate of occupancy can be revoked, you know, for a time.
Gotcha.
One other thing is that they are selling tickets to these events, and which is to get a drink or something, which obviously they're not allowed to do, but it is happening. And I know there's underage drinking going on there as well.
on the ticket, I think that's going, on the ticket sales, that's gonna be governed by ABC, I would imagine, from that standpoint, because I don't think you can sell at you have to have some type of license before you do that, so that could be governed as well from that standpoint.
And we did contact them, and they did go talk to the owners to explain whether you're here or not, this is your center, you're responsible
Yeah.
for what goes on here.
And I think that's my understanding is they're pretty strict with that policy, but that's something also that we can work with the police to follow up on as well.
But I appreciate you coming forward and sharing your firsthand experience with that. I'm sorry that your families had to experience that with your property there. I know that your property there has been owned by your family for some time. I know that a lot of people in that area have had an affiliation with Sacred Heart School, and you make a great point of how close the school is to this. And again, I think it just boils down to, you know, we expect people to be conscious of the rights of the surrounding property owners. And I think that there has to be some responsibility on the property owner's part to help us with this problem. And so it's going to be my recommendation, as I said earlier, to go to the ordinance committee. We're going to discuss this with city attorney, fire chief, police, and we'll come back to this board and make a recommendation on something we believe can help with this issue.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you. You sure you don't want to speak, Laura?
She covered.
She covered it? Okay. Is anybody else on the citizens agenda? We do have, and I apologize for getting ahead of myself here, about the library. We have someone, if you would, please come forward.
guys that we're having a great summer at the library, and we appreciate everyone's support of the library. This summer, we're challenging every person, young and old, to read 20 minutes a day, every day, to keep the kids up to reading level. If you'll come into the library, we have 50 programs for children and adults, all kinds of crafts, yoga, some great activities. So we invite you all to come.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Appreciate it. And thank you for all that y'all do at the library. We appreciate that. Okay, is there anyone else in the audience who would like to speak? Please come forward.
I just mainly want to give a follow-up on something that's been going on for a while now. And you had it in your mayor's report a few months ago, and you said you agreed to give them 60 days before you readdress the building at Custer and 51. And I wanted to know if anybody has checked back into that. We need to know who owns that property or what we can do about condemning that property.
Yes, there's been a lot of activity since that was discussed. In fact, it's a weekly activity. Right now, the status of that is there's an insurance investigation going on. We're frustrated with that, frankly. We want that to be over, ready to see something happen there. We share your concern. But at this point, if the city condemns it, the city would be funding the demo of the building. So if that's part of an insurance settlement, obviously it's good for the city that we don't have to pay for that. So we've tried to be patient with the insurance company so they can complete their investigation. Sometimes, and I don't want to speak out of turn, I'm not privy to all that's that is happening with that investigation. But I do understand that sometimes insurance investigations can get lengthy. So at this point, we've tried to be patient, and we're still allowing the insurance company time to complete their investigation. There is a limit to that amount of time, and then at that point, we will come back before the board and recommend condemnation of the building.
About how long? I mean, I don't pretend to know, and I understand that they take a long time. But what I'm afraid of is the man will get payout and he won't do anything to the building, and we'll still think there's an investigation going on, so nothing will be done, and that building continues to decline and decay.
Right, and what I'm telling you tonight is that's not going to happen, because this is something, again, that we speak about frequently. We're trying to give the insurance company time to make their decision. At that point, we'll follow up with them and find out what their conclusion was. And then if what you the fear that you just communicated, if that were to happen, then we will step up, and like I said, I'll recommend a condemnation to this board, and we'll take care of that. We're not going to allow, for multiple reasons, not only the way it looks, it's horrific, but also a safety. I mean, there's a fence around, it's dangerous, it's a public safety issue, so we're just trying to give them, again, adequate time, then we'll make a decision and take care of that.
Well, one of my biggest concerns is the safety issue, because the kids are out of school, they have nothing to do, and that fence is just an invitation to get into trouble.
Certainly. No, you're preaching the choir. I agree with you 100%. And the condemnations, I mean, the demos after a condemnation, it's a significant amount of money. What do we spend on a residential home with?
Residentials are usually about 15 to 20,000.
Okay, so then we're looking at, this one is much larger. There are going to be other things involved with this, so you're looking at a significant amount of money. We're just trying to be cautious with the taxpayers' money and not get ahead of the insurance company at this point. But I can assure you, again, that we are on that, and there is not an unlimited amount of time. We're going to follow back up with the insurance company based on what they tell us. We'll make a decision from that point. Is there anyone else who would like to speak? Okay, we'll move on. Next on the agenda is our personnel docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the personnel docket as presented on this date.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Wheeler. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Hoops.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is our city attorney's legal update.
So a couple quick items. First, on the building at Custer, I have emailed with the attorney for the insurance company, and so she had informed me it was still under investigation, just as an update. So that was last week, so hopefully I'll know more in the coming future. First is tonight, Thomas Maston as part of being the court clerk, has to enter in his credentials in every year under the statute. So tonight, enter in his certificate of attendance and his training certificates he's received over the last couple of years in the minutes as part of his duties of being court clerk. There doesn't need to be any vote, it just has to be actually in our minutes and presented. So FYI, that to be in our minutes tonight. Next, is also with the deputy court clerks, Ashton Anderson Worley and Lisa Randall Cunningham were both sworn in as deputy court clerks. Our municipal court judge, which he has authorization to do under the appointment that we gave him. So just noting those are being just noting those will be included in the minutes as well. No action. I have to formally say that. And last item is just approving the Butler Snow contract for 2019-2020. Our current contract expires on June 30th this year, so this contract will be July 1, 2019 to June 30, 2020. Show the statute, outside firm must be appointed once a year. So authorize that. It's signed by the mayor, and it's the same contract as last year. No changes whatsoever. So authorize the contract and also authorize us to help with litigation as needed on a monthly basis.
I'll make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Flores, second by Alderman Kelly. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda is a utility bill adjustment docket.
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve the utility bill adjustment docket as presented.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Brooks. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks. Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on the agenda are our two claims dockets. Is there a motion to approve docket 1?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve docket number 1 in the amount of $3,073,281.43, including demand checks.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman who?
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Now is there a motion to approve docket 2?
Mr. Mayor, I move we approve docket number 2 in the amount of $329,232.64.
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Payne, second by Alderman Flores. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, roll call.
Alderman Brooks.
Yes.
Alderman Kelly.
Yes.
Alderman Payne.
Yes.
Alderman Gallagher.
Yes.
Alderman Wheeler.
Yes.
Alderman Flores.
Yes.
That motion carries. Next on our agenda is to determine the need for executive session.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Brooks, second by Alderman Kelly. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The need this evening is claims and litigation against the Southaven Police Department, personnel in the Southaven Police Department, the sale and purchase of land by the city, economic development within the city, and personnel in parks. Is there a motion to declare executive session?
Second.
We have a motion by Alderman Gallagher, second by Alderman Hoots. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed say no. Ayes have it, motion carries. The mayor and board will now enter executive session.
Send your picture.